Hello everyone, it's your host Boomstick, who is the admin for the Buffalo Sabres, and we are here with episode number 2. And unfortunately, we are missing a few admins. Apparently, the Cloud and Big Red will not join us, but we are submitted here by our three of us, but there are 2 admins here. We have hashtag Kane's Revolution, who is the second admin of the Carolina Hurricanes. And then we have our lovely lady friend here, In Price We Trust, who is the official admin of the Montreal Canadiens. Now, what are we going to discuss first? Are we going to talk about the Dennis Wideman situation? Are we going to talk about the Evander Kane situation? Are we going to talk about the lottery? What are we starting off with here, guys?
First of all, we're going to start off with the Dennis Wideman incident. Not only are we going to discuss how his suspension, after he had already served something like 19 games, and it just got lowered to 10 games, but we're also going to talk about how some coaches want to change the draft lottery system. We're also going to be talking about the Evander Kane scandal because he's a punk. And then we're going to end the night with the top 15 jerseys that we think are the best.
And the worst.
And the worst.
I mean, you can't ever go out without not mentioning the worst. I think the worst jerseys of all time are probably going to be a very interesting list. I already know who my number 1 is. I'm not going to reveal it until we get to the podcast. Anyways, let's get this started. So, starting off with the Dennis Wideman story. So, what is going on with it?
So, just for anybody who doesn't know what happened with Dennis Wideman, a couple, what was it? Right before the All-Star break, the All-Star game break, Dennis Wideman had a pretty hard hit to the boards, got up, and then on his way back to the bench, cross-checked a ref in the back. And the ref went down pretty hard with apparently some pretty substantial injuries, considering he is still not back up and officiating, and he's not going to be for the rest of the year. Basically, Dennis Wideman pleaded to the NHL committee and said that he wasn't in the correct state of mind to basically be responsible for his actions. And of course, the NHL committee did not agree with that, and he was suspended for 20 games.
No, what happened was he was going into concussion symptoms because Wideman wanted to go for tests, and he's like, oh, yeah, I didn't mean to hit him because I had a concussion, which is a lot of fucking bullshit because I think everybody who clearly saw that tape said he did it on purpose. That's just a general statement. I mean, is there any other professional player in the league that could just go up there and say, I had a concussion? No. That's like saying you get drunk and you get hit by a car. Would you blame that on anybody else but yourself?
Let's just remember, though you don't claim concussion symptoms for hitting the ref, let's just remember this past season that Milan Lucic sucker punched a ref from across the net, and there was no backlash for it.
Yeah, you said that in the last podcast. You said that you're not a big fan of Lucic. I'm not either, but to be fair, the ref, deserved to come out of his way and say, he punched me in the face. I want something done for it, and apparently wasn't done for it. Maybe it's just the marketing, player. Lucic gets the treatment like the majority of the stars in the league, which, to be honest, he hasn't really quite lived up to it after he left Boston. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Wideman situation in general. Like, how do you two think this is going to play out? So we're going to start with Steph. What do you think?
I want
I think we lost her.
Hey, Steph, your mic's breaking up.
Well, I have to go to bed anyway.
Alright, so I guess, it's just the 2 of us now, Rob. So we'll let you know in advance what happened, Steph. So we'll send you the tape and stuff. Alright, now it's back to us,
Tom.
Alright, so back to square one. Alright.
Yeah. Going on to just basically the Dennis Wideman incident. I'm a big Dennis Wideman fan. Though I don't agree with what he said about having concussion symptoms, if you do look back to his entire career, basically, he really has had no real incidents with officials or any other players, for that means.
I mean, that matters most. I mean, at this point, Dennis Wideman, I have never seen a player from the years I've been watching hockey is absolutely, sedated by this. And the fact that he comes out and says, I have a concussion. It's weird because how often do you see players, for example, in the NFL go up and, trip a referee up or punch a ref? How often do you see that in the NFL?
You really don't.
And that's because if anybody or in Major League Baseball, if a batter hits an umpire on accident with a stick or with the bat, hits him in the cheek, you think that he's going to say, "Oh, I had concussion symptoms"? No, that's just unprofessionality. And the fact being is that Dennis Wideman's saga, from what this turned into, was a complete bullshit statement by the league. The league does not agree with it, of course, and the refs have one side and Wideman is the other. It's just a bidding war between the two sides. Both parties are wrong and both parties are right. It's just a complete dull mess.
I would completely agree with you on that. But we gotta remember is that he got 10-game suspension, the lowering of the suspension for 10 games.
Yes.
And this was after the fact that he tried to appeal with the the NHLPA?
The National Hockey Players Association.
Yeah, he appealed with them and he didn't get it. So what was really the big change that made them lower the suspension?
I wish I knew that answer, but I honestly don't think it's going to matter. I think it's more about the marketing. Like, think about it. If you were comparing someone to, like, Lucic, because you obviously said it earlier in the show that he punched a linesman earlier in the season and got nothing. And for Wideman, if you remember when he was with the Cavs, not to get off topic, but when he was with the Caps, he was a big-name player. He was being treated like, he was the next big thing, like he was the next Brent Seabrook or some shit like that. But in the end, when he got traded to Calgary, he was just sort of gone and forgotten. And then now his name's brought up again for this bullshit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I never viewed him as a bad player, but I always thought he had some sort of an aggression state of mind. Not that he might have had something against Don Anderson. You never know. Maybe he had a sort of, I don't know anything about the whole relationship. But the fact is that if these two had a little bit of an incident in the earlier years in the NHL, I'm sure when Wideman was with Washington, he might have remembered the linesman and said, "Hey, this guy gave me a crappy call, and I got really upset. Let me get him back years later." That's my theory. But not that it makes sense or anything, which it does. But in the end of the day, Dennis Wideman is wrong for his symptoms. He claims that he has a concussion, which is complete bullshit. Because if Dennis Wideman, and let's be honest, if Dennis Wideman had a concussion, he would be there for testing. And the fact that he was being paid into his games during the suspension for the next 19, which could have been 20, now that it can't be reduced because he already served it, it's way out of proportion. This was a complete circus, this entire incident.
I mean, do you think it's a complete circus because of what's been going on around the league too? I mean, look at all the suspensions that are being handed out in the past. What is it? 2 weeks. You had the guy fighting with the Yoch, Shane Doan. You had Shane Doan getting a 1-game suspension. You have, I think, 3 or 4 more players? I can't remember their exact names. I got suspensions for putting on hits this season. Do you think they went easy on them just because they thought of how much suspensions they've been giving out?
I don't know. I think it's more about, and I've always told this to other people who don't really understand the format of the league suspensions or whatever. I always say this. It's because it all determines on the actions of the league, because they say talk is cheap. It's more about how actions speak louder than words. So I think it really has nothing to do with what you just said. Not that it means anything to me from my perspective, but as a, I'm no professional, but if I was a ref, I would probably have one thing against somebody else. If you look at incidents like, just to throw out an example, I forget who hit him, but it was Sam Reinhart got clipped into the boards and there was no penalty. And Evander Kane last week tried to instigate one of the players on Montreal. Again, I don't remember the name, and he got a penalty for it, which is for interference, which is complete bullshit. And I can tell you that right off the mat. I mean, the officiating this year in general is just a complete joke. Like, nobody can take the ref seriously at
Nope.
all. No, not even.
And I mean, the taking the not taking of the officials and the linemen seriously. I mean, I fall into one of these categories because I have been very upset with the linesmen this year. As most of the people know on this page, I follow the Blackhawks because that's one of my family's teams.
Yeah, but yet you're the admin for the Hurricanes.
Well, I'm adamant for the Hurricanes because I live in North Carolina. I followed the Whalers down to North Carolina. I mean, I've been a Canes fan since '97. So I mean, like you can't. There
Which probably
there
explains why you're wearing the Whaler jersey.
there is well, yeah, but I'm wearing a Carolina farm team hat, so it's okay.
Fair enough.
But really, like there was a couple games. I mean, and everybody knows the infamous Coach Q.
Of course.
You know when Coach Q gets angry and starts yelling and screaming on the bench, something's wrong.
And grabbing his crotch at the same time.
These refs or these linesmen have taken away, I believe, 7 goals from the Blackhawks this season because they can't officiate. The game Chicago versus the Yotes I watched because my friend on the college campus is a Yotes fan. What was it? The goal went into the net, and the linesman called it back. And even on the replay, you see the puck go in the net, and they had the call stand. And then you go and find out at the end of the game that none of the officials had more than 50 games experience.
Such bullshit. You should at least bring somebody in who at least has some, like, 10 years, maybe, experience. I feel like refs that have less than 5 years in experience don't know what the hell they're doing. Because a lot of them are still trainees, they're still, semi-pros. But if you look at someone who's older in the league, like take for example Frederick Lequier, he's one of the associates, and he pretty much officiates most of the Montreal Canadian games. And a lot of the times, I think he's been in the league for maybe 5-6 years. Just to round up the number, maybe a little older, but he's given out some really bullshit calls. And like one time he'll give away a trip penalty to somebody who didn't even trip, and then there's another time where, somebody actually literally makes a trip penalty, doesn't give them a call. It's a joke. Definitely. I mean, with the situation with Wideman and the situation with Don Henderson, which I feel bad for Henderson because he's got a concussion. He's not going to be coming back anytime soon. But just because you have one ref who's out for the entire season doesn't mean that it's going to change the impact of most of the players. It all comes down to if you heard, and this is always the golden rule in any professional sport. Football, hockey, soccer, basketball, you name it, baseball. If you ever touch an umpire, you're fucked. And I think
it's an automatic out.
But the
You
way
don't touch the linesman, you don't hit the linesman, you don't curse at the linesman because they have the power to throw you out of the game. You technically drop one swear word to a linesman, and they can throw you out of the game.
I mean, if I did that to a ref tomorrow, if I wanted to, I would get suspended. But I'm not that dumb. And then later, I think it's also unprofessional that Wideman comes out and says, "Oh, I had a concussion." Like, how do you have a concussion if you are playing?
I totally agree.
Because if he had a concussion, he would not be playing.
No.
That's in general. That's a general statement.
He definitely would not be playing. I mean, also honestly, depending on the grade of the concussion too, because he's been out. He hasn't played for 19 games so far. He hasn't played since the All-Star weekend. Technically, his symptoms could be over, but like if he was claiming that the concussion was that bad, it would have most likely been a season-ending one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, if you have the gall to say, "Oh, I wasn't in the state of mind, so I cross-checked the ref as hard as I could in the back of the head," basically, you have to be pretty out.
And you have to be pretty arrogant too, if you think about it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Definitely. Which I mean, it's just a complete circus. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I don't personally think they took the Dennis Wideman situation too well, because they were trying to, for the last 2-3 weeks, they've been trying to figure out, or whatever the number was, like how many, what was it, 20 games they said it was going down to, and now they decreased it to 10. What? I don't understand. They did this to Rafi Torres numerous times. They gave him, remember that one year, I think it was in the playoffs, when Marian Hossa went down on that hit by Rafi Torres, and the league gave him a 41-game suspension, and then when he was traded to San Jose, he still had to live up the suspension. Then he came back, he got suspended again, and then he got traded to Toronto and went to the Marlies and all that stuff. You remember all that?
Yeah.
So bull. That's what I'm trying to come down here with. It's just complete bullshit with the refs.
I mean, it's all about also. I mean, of course, you're going to have a new generation of officials come in. I mean, it's a given.
True.
But why they decided to try to basically completely change every single official this season, I don't know.
I don't know. Bring back Bill McCrary. That guy was awesome. All right, or Kerry Frazier. Bring those guys back.
I mean, but completely honest, like we're also the NHL is also moving away from the tougher game, where they're cracking down on fighting, they're cracking down on these borderline legal hits. I mean, this also all comes in the changing of the game.
I mean, I think if we had a different commissioner, he might have a different state of mind. You need someone like Gretzky or Messier to take over because they know that they played the game. Bettman never played the game, and it's kind of clear as to why he's making these changes. But I also, at the same time, understand why. I mean, I understand. I was totally against when it first happened the icing penalty, the icing change. When they
changed the no-touch icing.
Yeah. I actually, if you notice, he actually made it better. So this way it would bring in less concussions. I think that's always been an issue with the league for the last 10 years, is with concussions. Because if you remember when you were a little younger, I don't think you remember, but I'll bring it up anyway, was with Pat LaFontaine. Pat LaFontaine, when he was with Buffalo, he had numerous concussions. And the doctors at that point, when he was traded to the Rangers, he was on the cusp of dying because they told him, if you get one more concussion, you're pretty much going to die. And, Pat LaFontaine was left with so much pressure on his shoulders, which I know he didn't want to take because, that's Pat LaFontaine. He loves the game. And he had no choice but to retire. And that's the sad part. And I think that a little while back, not that it happened to him as well, but Blake Jeffrey too, when he was only 25, 26 when he retired. And he had concussion problems, and he couldn't play. That's the problem with players like this. I mean, they could live up to potential, but they never really extended. I mean, Connor McDavid may be the next one in line. We don't know. And I could just sense it that's going to happen. Not that I don't want to wish it upon him or anything, which I never want to, because he's a very good player. And I'm a Sabres fan, but that's a shame to say, he's a better player. But, I just feel it coming. I really do. I mean, he already broke his collarbone, and he might end up getting a concussion next. You never know with these things.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Well, I think for the viewers for our page, I think we've gone into the Wideman incident pretty deeply. We don't want to keep kind of rambling off because we kind of seem to be getting a little off topic. Sure. I know our tempers are flaring with all these rule changes and inconsistent officials and the changing of the game. So I just want to move on to basically the next item on our agenda, which is how some of these coaches want to change how the draft lottery is. And I know you know a little more info on that, so if you would like to lead us into the draft lottery change.
Well, I mean, I do have the article right here. It's not a very long segment. It's maybe 30, 40 words. Just bring it on anyway. And this was from Pierre LeBrun of ESPN. Of course, Pierre LeBrun's a good analyst. He said that on Thursday, 11:33 p.m., just around midnight, he said that some of the NHL general managers want the draft lottery revamped, bearing teams from winning the rights to choose at the first overall position 2 years exactly in a row, or not even allowing a team to draft first in any of the drafts in the next 3-4 years after the first overall pick is made. So basically they're summarizing and saying, they're pretty much telling the rest of the league, don't do what the Buffalo Sabres did. Because people claim, and you know what, I hear this story a lot, and I don't agree with it at all. I think a lot of viewers, like yourself, because you're a Hurricanes fan, I don't know, it has nothing to do with it, but I'm just going to tell you anyway, is that if you view Buffalo, what they did in the last 2 years, people claimed that they were tanking on purpose to win the draft lottery. Because if they won those 2 years back-to-back, they would have had Aaron Ekblad and Connor McDavid. And that's just a general statement. But you know what? It's not entirely a bad thing, because Sam Reinhart and Jack Eichel have a really good chemistry together, and they've already been compared to Taves and Kane, which I think is amazing. But I get why people want to change the lottery rules, and also the Edmonton Oilers. They won 3 picks in a row in 2010 through 12.
Yep.
Hall, Nugent Hopkins, and Yakupov, and already all three of them are in jeopardy to be traded, which is ridiculous. Because I think the only reason that the league I wouldn't say gives, but they kind of like fixed, quote unquote, the lottery so that the Edmonton Oilers can actually be good. That's what I think.
I mean, this is such a weird topic for me because I don't really pay attention to the draft lottery that much. Like, it doesn't really matter to me if Buffalo wins it three years in a row, or Edmonton wins it 3 years in a row, and all that stuff. I mean, I get that some of these other teams want a chance at getting the first round, and they don't want these teams just to keep winning it just to get first round picks. But I don't really see the reason to change.
I do because there's a couple of flaws to this. Because if you look back, and a really good friend of mine, who's an Islander fan, who's maybe older than me by 30 years, and he was alive too for the '84 season, and he said that the Penguins, before keyword before they got Mario Lemieux, they traded everybody away, and this was before the draft lottery. So before that time frame, there was no draft lottery. So what teams needed to do to get the first overall pick was just to tank. That's all they had to do. And the Penguins got rid of every single superstar they had on their team, and they were so shitty that they actually ended up, tanking to get the first overall pick. And of course, that pick turned into Mario Lemieux. And then I think in like '88 or '89, one of those 2 years, one of those picks turned into Jaromir Jagr, and then just took off from there. I mean, the Penguins tanked on purpose, and that's probably why I think after the '85 season they did the draft lottery system, because of the Pittsburgh Penguins tanking to get Mario Lemieux. And then after that, they just kind of went downhill in this generation with the Edmonton Oilers.
I mean, of course, there's always gonna be basically flaws in the system, and we're gonna find if they actually end up changing the draft lottery system, we're gonna find out what the flaws are gonna be in the next year or two, and it's gonna be the same thing over again. And then in a couple of years, people are gonna want to change it. I mean, yeah, I mean, like the not to jest at the Sabres, but the Sabres have always been the point of amusement for people saying, oh, they're choosing to lose some games to try to get the first round pick, or they're trying to lose games to get better standings in the draft, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe it's true. I just
don't
believe
think that
that's
either.
that bad. No,
I don't believe that either.
no, and I mean, to forcibly make your team tank to get a better pick, that just kind of shows what kind of GM slash owner slash coach kind of are. You're running a shady organization if you do that.
I wouldn't say it's shitty, but you have to have a management. Like, look at Buffalo the last 10 years. Comparing to this moderation, to the Buffalo Sabres 10 years ago. The Sabres, financially, 2000-2003, they were on the cusp, all right? On the cusp of moving to Hamilton. And that was a team that the NHL wanted to put for years, okay? Years. And,
Well,
and Buffalo had no money at that time. They were okay. They got people. It wasn't like today where they have an owner who's willing to spend all this money to big contracts and get players. And they're on top of that, they have a GM who's not a cheap bastard, like fucking, say for example, the Edmonton Oilers. They just want to play with what they have in the draft and not, improve in free agency. I mean, Tim Murray, he was an assistant GM for Ottawa for a couple of years, and he came to Buffalo and he just completely changed the role. He completely changed the culture in Buffalo, and people are already starting to see what he wanted to represent. I mean, Eichel and Reinhardt are a prime example to what they wanted to be. But the point I'm trying to make is that because Tim Murray, when they lost to Connor McDavid in the draft lottery, he came out and said, I wish the league were to just look at this and just give it to the team who would just finish 30th, finishes the last place and just get the pick. That's the statement he made directly after they lost in the lottery when they were going to get Eichel. And some people speculated that, but I didn't think that because I didn't believe it. Because if you think about it, I'm a superstitious guy when it comes to the draft lottery. Because if you look back at, for prime example, 2013 and 2014, the first overall pick winner in 2013 was Colorado, and they were the second worst team in the league. Florida ends up winning it. The following year, the Buffalo Sabres were the worst team in the league. Florida was the second worst team. They won the lottery. The following year, 2015, here we go. It was going to be Buffalo's year, and the Easter egg basket was just there. It just screams Connor McDavid right there. And they take the Easter basket and be like, hey, thanks for the Easter basket. And then you flip the card over, it's like, it's for Edmonton. It's like, fuck, seriously? And then you're rewarded with, here, you could take the Hobie Baker winner with you. Just come grab it, right? And you know what? They don't get, the players they got this year, but they're going to build from it. And I know this as a fact. Because as I watch deeply with the Sabres, I watch them closely, as I'm a fan, not to be biased, but they're going to have a very good future ahead of them. And, not to jab at other teams, and tell me if you think this is a conspiracy. People say Buffalo, not to talk about them much longer, but people say Buffalo tanked on purpose so they can get Connor McDavid. When you look at Toronto, they say that they're being aggressive with their rebuild. It's like, yeah, you have one of the biggest pieces of shit on the planet as your face of the franchise, and you have no players to contribute with other than James Van Riemsdyk. And then you're trying to get Austin Matthews and Steven Stamkos, which is completely illogical.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't call it, as you put it, a conspiracy theory. I mean, I don't know enough about the situation to put forth my 2 cents into it. But what you're saying does make logical sense.
Because the league just hates Buffalo. They really do.
Well, it's just like how the league hates Phoenix.
I don't say hate, but they just don't want to give them anything.
They don't want to give them ice. The mayor of Glendale wanted them out. People wanted them relocated. I mean, I would honestly say that if Buffalo had moved to Hamilton, it would have been a very bad mistake.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know what? I'm very happy they stayed though.
Hamilton hasn't had a team since 1926.
That's
The Hamilton Tigers played from 1920 to 1926, and then they ran out of money and just dropped. There's a market, of course, but the Sabres are kind of one of those iconic teams that came in 1971? 70. With the Capitals and the Kansas City Scouts.
No, because the Caps came later.
73?
74. The Caps came.
I thought it was a 73-74. They played in the 73-74 season.
Yeah, they played in the 70. No, they played in the. It was either 73-74 or 75-78.
I'm pretty sure it was the 73-74. I always get this is I know the 1967-68 expansion fairly well, but when you get into the 70s, I can't I know the Canucks can't. I know between 1970 and 1975, you had the Kansas City Scouts, you had the Washington Capitals, you had the Buffalo Sabres, you had the Vancouver Canucks.
Because in the 70s, the Sabres were an expansion team in 1970. There were only 2 teams that year. It was Buffalo and Vancouver. And
yes.
The funny thing about that expansion was the first overall pick was automatically going to the team that was an expansion team. And the funny thing about it is, I don't think you know about this, but I'm going to tell you anyway because I know you're such a big historian about this shit. So I'm just going to explain it to you anyway. I don't know if you know. There was actually a huge, Steve Harvey, before Steve Harvey time frame, the Gilbert Perreault sweepstakes. And apparently it came down to Buffalo and Vancouver. And it's not like what they did back then with the draft lottery. They didn't have a draft lottery then. What they had was, it was a spinning wheel. And it gave them an estimate number as to what the number was going to be. And the NHL at the time claimed the Vancouver Canucks won the draft lottery to get Gilbert Perreault. And Buffalo was just like, oh, shit. And Buffalo was just like, we lost. And then they said, wait. No. The numbers are wrong. Buffalo actually won the draft lottery. And Vancouver's just like, but we won it fair and square. And, the Sabres, of course, got Gilbert Perreault, and that's when things changed. 5 years later, they made the Stanley Cup Finals with, the late Rick Martin, who passed away 5 years ago today, and Rennie Robert. I mean, that line really kicked in. But the point I'm trying to make is, I just feel the league does not appreciate Buffalo at all. I think that's probably why they don't want. I just think the league knows that there's such a huge market that they don't want them to ever be good. That's just my theory.
That sounds a little more like conspiracy theory. Just like another conspiracy theory is that Gary Bettman hates Canadian teams.
I don't know.
And you can see it with his southern expansion of hockey.
Arizona, Florida, Carolina, Atlanta.
Both Florida teams, Carolina, Atlanta, Dallas, Phoenix, Colorado. Even though Colorado already had a team prior to that in '76, but still, it's like you have 6 or 7 Southern expansion teams in Bettman's reign, and then you have one Canadian team, which of course was the Atlanta Thrashers to the Winnipeg Jets in 2010.
See, that's why I kind of give Bettman a break, because Bettman, what he did was right. He made the right decision because he knew the Thrashers weren't selling well. He knew the ticket prices weren't going to sell high. He knew that it wasn't a very big hockey market. And if he knew that going in, why did he put a team there in the first place? It doesn't make sense. And they've only been in the league for 11 years. And would that money go down? It went down like this. Just right down the toilet.
They tried many publicity things, and nothing worked for the Thrashers. Granted, for any of you Thrashers fans that are on the page, I went to a few Thrashers games. They were fun to watch.
I'll give you
that. Thrashers were very fun.
I saw some Thrashers games when the Islanders were playing them at the Coliseum a long time ago, when they had Marion Hossa and Kari Lehtinen, and I'm trying to think of some names. Oh my God, what's that guy's name? Help me out here. Scott Mellenby, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Mellenby played for them. Steve Ruchin played for them. Kovalchuk, of course.
And honestly, the Thrashers, they were fun to watch. They were a rough team. They played rough hockey, which is why Dustin Byfuglien was like the brain baby of that team.
Oh yeah, and Andrew
Ladd. But and they had killer jerseys. But we'll get into that later.
Yes.
But anything else you want to state on the draft lottery system?
Yeah, I do actually. I actually have a couple more. And forgive me, people. We don't want to brag about this any longer. We want to go on with it. But I think if anybody, it should just be the draft lottery should just be for only the bottom 5 teams, like they used to do in the past. They used to, anybody who was not in the top 5 would just stay where they were at. That's what the lottery should be. Or if they really want to go down the wire with this change for the draft lottery, why don't you just give it to the team that actually is not taking on purpose? Toronto Maple Leafs, Edmonton Oilers, just to name a few. Kind of like put, say, for example, 7th overall team would be the Vancouver Canucks. Give the Canucks the pick. Give them like that, or the Philadelphia Flyers. Give them those picks. And then if team that started in the bottom, like Toronto, put them in like the 4th or 5th range, kind of like botch it. Just close your fucking eyes. Don't use statistics. Just say, okay, we're gonna just do it by a hat. Do it whatever. Do everything you can so this way it's believable. Don't rig it. Don't do any of that ridiculous crap like they did with the Edmonton Oilers for the last 10 years.
Excuse me for 1 second. Please keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay, go ahead. So while he will be right back, I guess you could say, from perspective-wise, the lottery, I think, could just change just a eeny-beeny bit. Kind of just botch it up a little bit. Don't sugarcoat it too much. Just kind of keep it at pace, but don't just give it to the team that they feel deserves to get the pick. Edmonton does not deserve to win the Connor McDavid sweepstakes. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Buffalo fan. I'm saying this because it's a general statement. And, and the fact is that it should just be the team who I believe could stay and put, teams teams that need help desperately. Back in, let's say, 03, did you ever see Washington get the first overall pick constantly? No. Pittsburgh, they got the second overall pick in 04. That turned into Malkin. They got Crosby in 05, and they got Stahl in 06. I'm talking about Jordan, by the way. And after those 3 picks, the Penguins just took off. It took the Hawks 2 picks, and then they just flew off. They were just out of the wire with their systems. I mean, it all comes down to, who can build the best system, who develops their players properly. And that's why I think, teams like Chicago and Los Angeles can really develop in that perspective. But, yeah, so just to entertain you guys for one bit. So, anyway, Hurricane guy is back. Yeah, so what's the next topic that we wrote down on our list?
So our second to last topic for tonight is all about Evander Kane and his recent scandal, which seems to be these types of scandals seem to be plaguing a lot of NHL players lately, like Yager, Kane, and now the second Kane. What's with people with the last name Kane and sex scandals?
In Buffalo, I have no fucking clue, dude. I mean,
so Evander Kane was a recent acquire to Buffalo, correct?
From Winnipeg, yes.
So, and recently, since you're a bigger Buffalo, I've been following the headlines a little bit, but Evander Kane was apparently charged in a sex offense scandal.
No, he was not charged.
He was
under investigation for sexual assault.
And now, recently, I think, was it either yesterday or early today?
It was Friday.
Buffalo News came out with that there were no charges filed against Evander Kane.
And it's actually a pretty interesting story, because when the story first came out, it was 2 days after Christmas. And keep in mind, Evander Kane does not live in a house. He lives in a hotel at the Harbor Center, at the in the Harbor Center. Because if you ever go to Buffalo, because I don't know if you have, but if you ever go up to Buffalo for a Sabres game, to play Carolina, for example, or to play, Winnipeg or whatever, just to name a team, direct next to the First Niagara Center, Terry Pegula, because I praised him earlier about the money, because he owns both the Sabres and the Bills, and he owns the Harbor Center. And the Harbor Center is the only one in the United States. It's a state-of-the-art building that has a restaurant, a hotel, and 3 ice rinks. No, I'm sorry, 2. Or 3. I think it was 2 or 3. It was in that range. There are rinks in there. It's supposed to be like an economic thing. It's supposed to get people to come to Buffalo to play the games or whatever. It's supposed to make it more like a hockey town, because Buffalo is a hockey town. But the point is that Evander Kane was hanging out at the 716 bar on the 27th, and I think that same night they were coming home from Boston. And apparently Kane had a little too much to drink, and apparently there was this 20-year-old blonde chick who has no fucking job, who's pretty much a prostitute, if you want to say. I don't think he would be paying her at this point. But, she got a little tipsy, and he got a little tipsy. They went out, and they made love upstairs. And the next morning, she passes out, and she says, "Why am I in this bed with Evander Kane?" Not knowing who the hell he is. And, she called 911, she called the police, and said, "I'm claiming this guy, he offended me, he assaulted me." Because the reports first came out and said that she had bruises on her arms and legs and stuff like that. Maybe she might have hit the bed, wooden sides, because, obviously the legs are pretty hard to hit when you jam your toe and whatever. That same night, they pulled his truck out from the hotel for investigation, for whatever reason, the look for blood and stuff like that. And Evander Kane the next day comes out and says, "I did nothing wrong." And you know what? I was totally by that. He did not do anything wrong, because this is the first time he's ever been in an investigation. And, 2 months went by, nothing really came out of it. And so, he's just playing hockey and whatever, and just Friday or Saturday, I think it was Friday at most, said that there was no charges on him, and the woman in the hospital claims that she has no memory of what the hell happened. She has no idea, she doesn't remember a thing. So, and Evander Kane says, "I did nothing wrong." And, the reports came out and said there was not enough evidence, you couldn't really prove it if you continuously say, "I don't remember a thing." And he was let go, the case closed, and Evander Kane is on his own and just playing hockey. And the same thing happened to Patrick Kane. And the most interesting concept about this whole debate was the lawyer that helped Evander Kane get out of the situation was the same lawyer that helped Patrick Kane get out of the sexual assault investigation, because he's already been through this shit twice.
I mean, let's just remember here that this is the same kind of case. There was no real evidence found. I mean, I don't know if you kept up with the Patrick Kane scandal. After the first Patrick Kane scandal went by, just recently, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, there was another one that came out. But it was completely dismissed the next day because it was proven that the woman that came out was nowhere near Patrick Kane the night she alleged it happened.
Yeah, the same thing that's happened to this woman.
It seems that like a lot of people are going after NHL players with the same story. Now Yager took pictures with the woman with the supermodel he was in bed with that she tried to get him in trouble with.
Yeah,
so,
but to be fair, Yager said, "I don't care. I have money, and if you want to bang me, go for it. But if you do, I'm just gonna have you take a picture of me." He's like, "Oh, do you mind if I take a picture?" He's like, "I don't care." It's like, listen, Yager's a Hall of Famer. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Patrick Kane's won 3 Stanley Cups. Evander Kane has not won anything. The only thing we can really say is that he's one of the best point productive guys on the Sabres. That's just a fair fact. And as it goes, you know, there is no real evidence in this case. It's probably the same woman that claims that Patrick Kane alleged her. I mean, this is the same thing that happened to him. You know, Evander Kane's going to be scarred for life. And see, that's why I'm not on board with the league, you know. I mean, not the league, what am I saying? That's why I'm not on board with the women that claim, you know, that these professional hockey players assaulted them. Because I can never think of a player allegedly hurting a woman. I cannot.
Eric Lindros.
Is that?
Eric Lindros.
Eric Lindros. I mean,
Eric Lindros was proven.
He was proven, but he was.
Yeah, that's why his career. That's why part of his career went down the toilet.
Man.
But other than I get what you're saying. Other than Eric Lindros, I can't really think of any players that have been caught up. And hey, viewers, if you want to post in the comments any other players that you know that this has happened to, please do. Because I'd love to see a list of players who have actually had issues with this.
Does Wideman count?
Wideman does not count.
I mean, that would be kind of scary if he was actually mentioned on that list. I mean, he technically did assault a ref, but we're talking about women and Canes.
Yeah, we're talking about women and the recent scandals that have been coming up in the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, but like I said, Evander Kane is not really a horrible person. I mean, I know he was a dipshit in Winnipeg, and I know he missed 1 practice, which, you know what I find funny? Before we move on from the situation, I love, and I'm calling out the Winnipeg Jet fans for this, they do the same shit every time you hear his name. Every time you hear Evander Kane's name mentioned in any sort of media, all the Jet fans come out of their little tunnels, right? They come out of hiding, and they be like, hey, you know, Jets won the trade because Evander Kane's getting in trouble. Or they won the trade because he missed practice. Jets fans have always something to bicker at. They always have something to say when it comes to Evander Kane. It's like, I get Evander Kane wasn't a very good role model for the locker room. I get that. But at the end of the day, he just didn't want to play there. I mean, is there anything wrong with not having to play for a team he didn't want to leave to go to anyway?
Well, it's just, I think Evander Kane handled it much better than Jonathan Drouin handled it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
At least I'll give it this. As some of the viewers probably know or will know soon enough, I am not a Evander Kane fan. I do not like him. I do not like his play style. I do not like his character. I do not like him. But I will give Evander Kane that he handled it much better than Jonathan Drouin did.
I mean, I like him as a player, but I'm not a fan of his character either. I'm just going to be out there and be completely honest. I'm not a fan of his character. And at first, when he first got traded here, I was actually more excited about Zach Bogosian than I was for Evander Kane. But then Evander Kane started to win me over, and I said, you know what? He's turning into one of my favorite players. I mean, he's a good player on the ice, but he's not a very good person. I mean, let's just put it like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, honestly, his whole demeanor could also be from his tenure with Atlanta. I mean, Bufflin, when he played for Chicago, was a pretty straight edge guy. He played a good game of hockey, and then he went to the Thrashers, and then his cocaine incidents kept happening because just recently he was found to be under the influence of cocaine.
That's what happened to Zach Bogosian. Zach Bogosian was traded because of his cocaine incident.
Yep. I mean, like you can just kind of put it to the team before them because, as you know, the Atlanta Thrashers always struggled with money, players, coaches, everything, even from their start in 1999? Yeah, 1999. Up until they left in 2010.
Well, 2011.
Yeah, 2010, 2011.
Yeah, but the point is that Evander Kane, he has character issues. I get that, but do I think he's going to do the same crap he did with Winnipeg? No, but I think that he, Jet fans need to calm down. All right, just because he made one mistake by accidentally oversleeping to go to a basketball game doesn't necessarily mean he's a bad person. And they call him a thug for that purpose. It's like that's a very ignorant and very premature thing to say.
Now, I'm not going to say he's a thug for missing one practice. I'm just going to say he's a thug in general.
I don't think so. He's no Deshaun Jackson.
I mean, we seem to differ on points with Evander Kane. But let's close out with Evander Kane so we can try to keep this podcast under an hour.
Yeah, and so let's have some fun. Let's talk about the worst and the best jerseys in the top 5 that we could possibly think of.
Okay, so we wanted to do top 15 jerseys that we thought, but I realized that's a lot of jerseys.
Yeah, and I don't have a list with me, so
we'll just go back and forth. Let me just do some of mine real quick. Not many of you know, but I run a page on Facebook called Past Teams of the WHA and the NHL, and basically it's a page that basically you try to remember the history of all the defunct teams. So of course, my top teams, I mean, come on now, all my favorite jerseys are going to be most likely defunct teams. So starting off with my top 5, and then I'll let Bobby or Boomstick, #Boomstick, Bobby, Buffalo admin do his top 5 first. So of course I'm going to say, first of all, favorite jersey, favorite logo ever, Hartford Whalers, 1979. The jerseys from 1979 to 1992.
The Blackhawk jersey?
It was basically this style of jersey. It had the white sleeves with the blue stripe and the blue stripes on the bottom with the white Whalers logo. They wore basically variations of this color in jersey from 1979 when they became an NHL team to 1992, which was basically the last year they used this, and they went over to the worst blue/green/silver crap jersey. I don't like it. I'm a big Hartford guy. I love it, but I was not a fan of those jerseys.
No, I don't think so.
One of the favorite things about this jersey, the last thing I'll say on it, is a lot of people, they know the whale tail, of course, right here. They know the W. But the thing that gets the people the most is the subliminal H for Hartford in between it. And I get people come up to me and they're just like, I've never noticed the H before. And I'm like, yep, that's what makes this logo so great.
I mean, it's one of the best logos in hockey, period.
Yes.
That's definitely for sure.
Going on to my second one, one of my favorite defunct teams, the California Golden Seals. They played from 1967 to 1976 before they moved to Cleveland.
I hate that jersey.
The jersey they wore from 74 to 76 is my favorite. It is a bright, I guess you would call it teal type looking.
It was a tealish yellow color.
Yeah, it is the most flamboyant, greatest jersey ever. If you want to look it up, just look up California Golden Seals 1974 to 1976 jersey. All-time favorite. Moving on to my third favorite, the Cleveland Barons. They were what the California Golden Seals came when they moved to Cleveland. They played from 1976 to 1978. Didn't play for very long, but it was a nice burgundy red jersey with a circle logo in between that said Cleveland Barons, and it had an outline of Ohio
Yeah.
And the reason the jersey was so cool is they wore numbers on both of their arms, and their numbers were encased in a silhouette of the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know enough about the Cleveland Barons to be around for that, but I have seen the jerseys before.
Yeah, and they're really cool. I mean, just the outline on the shoulders, and then you have to do with the 77 to 78 jerseys because their 76 to 77 jerseys didn't have the shoulder outline. So again, if you want to look that up, Cleveland Barons 77 78 jersey. Number 4, Minnesota North Stars. I think the North Stars have one of the greatest jerseys. Just the N with the star on top, with just the group with the different variations of the green color. I can't say, or I will say, the last jersey the North Stars wore were the worst because they got rid of the N. But again, can't go wrong with the Minnesota North Stars jerseys. And then my 5th one is the Colorado Rockies.
Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, they have a really cool jersey. It was a deep blue with red and yellow displaced all over it, with a mountain, with a triangular mountain with the Colorado Sea in the middle. And it was just a really classic jersey. I really wish it had survived. If you want to see a variation of it, I believe this year the Colorado Avalanche's alternate jersey is the same logo as the Rockies jersey, just a different color scheme.
That is true, you know. I'm just assembling my list really quick. For jerseys, the only jersey that is not on here, and I know a lot of people are going to give me crap, just be prepared, is the Chicago Blackhawks are not on this list. I know.
I mean, it is undisputed that they definitely have one of the best jerseys.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, not to say there was anything wrong with it, but I didn't really mind it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not that it's special. I mean, it is a really cool jersey, and it has one of the best logos in sports, don't get me wrong. But I just think it's, don't kill me, please, don't stab me, overrated. And I think a lot of people, and I'm going to say it in one word, and that's because I feel a lot of people look at that jersey, it's very original, but I just feel it's a little too plain, in my opinion. I mean, they put a lot of red on it. They put a lot of white on it. Like, they should pretty much variarize the colors a little bit. I mean, the logo's perfect, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there should be a little bit more green on the jersey. Because they put green on the jersey. I mean, from the Tomahawks to the Indian Feathers. They do everything on that jersey. So like I said, that's the only jersey on this list that is not going to be here. So, Chicago Black fans, I am sorry. So, counting down to number 5, I'm going to say my 5th favorite jersey is the Quebec Nordiques jersey from 76 to whatever the expansion year was the light blue. It had the Nordique on the side. Like, it was very unique, I mean, in a way. The logo, it wasn't very common, you know. I never got to really see the Nordiques play, but I did see the Avalanche play grow up. Of course, you know, the Avalanche. You know, the Nordiques, you know, they have one of those charming, vintage, nostalgic looks to them. You know, it's just a very different jersey. It's very unique. Like the Whalers, you know, just to throw it out there. And then...
The Nordiques were my number 8. I didn't really do this, and I forgot about the order. I love all these jerseys, but the reason I had the Nordiques at my number 8 was the Fleur-de-Lis.
That's true. And number 4 is the vintage Winnipeg Jets jersey. I mean, it's very unique. It was a WHA jersey. I know that. I mean, I stick by it. I mean, Bobby Holt wore it. You know, there's no problem with it. Clint Malarchuk. No, not Clint Malarchuk. Dale Hawerchuk wore it. You know, there was nothing wrong with that, really. I mean, I admire it. But I prefer the white jersey over the blue, to be honest with you. But the Winnipeg Jets jerseys were cool back then. Not the current ones. The current ones were okay. But the vintage ones. The true hockey ones. Number 3, and this is going to be a bit of a surprise, and I know a lot of people hate this jersey. It's the 2003 orange New York Islanders jersey. I love that jersey. I love the detail line. I mean, just fucking look at this. I mean, let me get the camera on here. There we go. It's orange, and it has the blue and white line going down near the armpit area. It's got the vintage string to it. I always admired it. I always thought orange was a cool color on this jersey. I really did. I didn't think it was gonna be, a monster hit, but I that's just a personal reference, when I was a kid. But not to say that it's bad now. I mean, if I had a copy of the jersey, I definitely would wear it. I mean, that's just my personal perspective. And my second favorite jersey of all time, again, another surprise cake, is, get the screen. There we go. The purple alternate LA Kings jersey.
It's a good jersey.
How fucking often do you see a purple jersey in hockey?
Not since the WHA Cleveland Crusaders from 73 to 78, 79-ish, I believe. I'd have to go back and look at my book, but pretty sure they were really the last ones besides the LA Kings in the early 70s.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And but purple I thought was always a unique color. I do respect the Kings. And this was a time frame when they had Jamie Storr. I mean, not that many people are going to remember him. Jeremy Roenick and Michael Hanzus and Felix Potvin. That was that time frame. But yeah, the purple on that jersey was just awesome. I think, and the lettering too was in sparkling silver. It was just a very cool jersey, and the laces on it was unique too. The crown in the middle was cool. I always liked that jersey.
What year was that?
I believe it was 2002. I think.
Wasn't that? You might not know this, but wasn't that also the year that the Kings got a Japanese goaltender, Yakamura Fukufuji?
I'm not sure, but I know they had Jamie Storr in their system. I know he came from Carolina, or unless he went to LA then Carolina, but he definitely was with the Kings. But and this is the most common feature I see on the jersey. It says Los Angeles on the bottom, I believe. Yeah, let me get that. Yeah, it says right there, Los Angeles. I mean, the Sabres did that sort of like clone to it, but it said Buffalo when they had the red alternate jersey. But yeah, I like that jersey too. And my number one all-time favorite, and because it's a bias statement, is the black alternate. I mean, the black road jersey from the Buffalo Sabres. That's my absolute favorite jersey ever.
Easily the Buffalo's best jersey.
I think the white one, honestly, is a little better, but the black is what stands out the most, because I have a game-worn jersey that's signed by Dominik Hasek, and I can't show it because this is on a desktop screen, and my jersey's on the frame wall, so I can't really do it. So I apologize for anybody who wants to see the autograph, but I will post it on Facebook.com/NHLFans365 if you're interested. I'll be more than happy to post it. But if you had to pick one jersey that was the worst, what would you say it is?
Oh, for my actual worst jersey ever?
The worst. Number one. Forget 5 and 2.
2006 to 2010 Buffalo Sabres.
Fuck you, man.
The Slugs.
Okay, you know what? Let me be fair about something.
I hate the Buffalo Slugs. Putting all bias aside and taking off the account that you are a huge Buffalo fan, I can't stand that jersey.
Okay, but here is the thing. I like the first design of it, the 06-07 one, when they had Drury, Briere, and Campbell, and Miller. Not the RBKH ones. Not those. The ones without the tag before the NHL logo. Before they made that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. The first design of that jersey was awesome. The year they made the RBKH jerseys was ridiculous. That I agree with. I don't like the Buffalo Slug either. I hate it. I don't want to talk about it because it's such a piece of shit. I don't want to talk about that jersey because it just reminds me. I never viewed it as a slug. I viewed it, and I tell this a lot of my friends, the charging banana. That's what I view it to be.
That's good. I like that.
The charging banana. It's a fucking banana. I mean, fuck. If I had it's on my bed sheets, and that's ridiculous. Let me see if I have a copy of it. Yeah, right here. Here we go. I have it on a puck. Yeah. Look. It's a fucking banana. God damn it. I've actually, somebody convinced me, maybe a couple years ago, they tell me if you flip the logo sideways, it's a handle where the horns is, and it's just a sword. That's what they say it is. And I said, that's bullshit. It's a fucking banana. But, you said Buffalo, correct?
Yes.
My least favorite jersey of all time, and this is for one team in particular. I've hated their jerseys, except for the one jersey I have always liked. It was in the mid-2000s. Late 90s, early 2000s. With Mark Messier. Every jersey that the Vancouver Canucks has ever made. every single jersey.
I disagree with you there.
Why?
Because I really liked the Vancouver Canucks mid-'80s, early '90s skate logo.
I hate that logo.
I actually have it on a hat in my room.
Then what happened?
And I love the flying V, or the Darth Vader jersey, with the it's a yellow jersey, yellow and/or black jersey, and it has the stripes making a V
Jesus Christ.
coming down on it. Here, I'll pull it up for you guys real quick.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about the black, orange, and yellow jersey. It has the big V going down the jersey. That is the worst jersey I have ever seen in my life. I am sorry. I mean, and just to watch them play the New York Islanders in the '82 finals with that jersey is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, dude, they look like kindergartners took, Microsoft Paint and they put it on the jersey, but they just got there without the official licensing from their parents. That's what it looks like.
Now, I will say, just to end the Vancouver thing, Vancouver has gone through many identity crises, and they are now going through another one when they are rebranding their team for the next season.
Why? What's the rebranding?
They're going to completely change their logo and their color scheme again.
Are you serious?
Yes. Since their admission into the NHL, they have had, I believe, it's either 7 or 10 different jerseys.
I didn't hear about the Vancouver Canucks, but I do know the Florida Panthers are getting a new logo. That I know. But honestly, I had no idea that the Vancouver Canucks were even considering making a change. And please, under any circumstance, get rid of this fucking logo off your goddamn jerseys.
That's their first. That's their expansion jersey logo.
That I understand, but I'm talking about on the shoulder. Oh, here we go. Here's the remake.
Yeah.
This is the remake. It's a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I'm sorry. Any Canucks fans, if I insulted you out there, I apologize. I do not like your jerseys.
I don't apologize.
Yeah,
I think your Orca whale is really dumb.
If anything, can I show you the jersey for the Canucks that I really liked? Really quick? Okay, let me get it really quick. 2000 Vancouver Canucks. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Just gonna get the jersey. Sorry.
While you're looking that up, here's the 1974 to 76 California Golden Seals jersey. My favorite player, Gilles Meloche, donning the jersey. Very awesome jersey.
There you go. And here is the jersey. And I have 3 versions of this jersey. Here's the black version. Now, the logo was very creative.
What a stupid Orca whale.
I like it.
God, I hate the Orca whale.
I like it. I like the Orca whale. I'm sorry. I like it. Here's the white one, for those who have never seen it. And let me find the red one. Here it is.
That one I can live with.
I like this one, personally. I mean, those 3 jerseys I like. Those are the only jerseys I like from the Canucks. The 90s Canucks jersey, the black one, this one, I don't mind. I don't like the logo, but I do like the jersey. I know they just brought it back in a game against the Leafs not too long ago. I mean, I didn't see the game because I'm not a Canucks fan, but if I were to watch that game, absolutely would I watch it. But I don't agree with one thing. The logo now, of course, it says Vancouver has the same freaking whale. They just graffitied it in blue. That's the only thing, about the logo that changed, was the color scheme. Green and blue and white. I just don't like it. Well, I mean, before we go, I don't mean to ask you this, but do you know anything about the jersey scheme? I mean, for the Canucks next year?
They haven't really released much, though it's probably going to be very dramatic.
It's probably going to be really crappy. I'm sorry. I don't really mean to bash the Canucks. I do like them. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against the Canucks, but I am very much against their jerseys. That's just...
Just to round out the night real quick, I'm just going to list some of the other, just really quick. I'm not going to go into them at all. I'm just going to list some of the other top 5 worst that I put down. I guess at the end of the next episode, if I'm on it, or me and Bobby can keep going on with our list of what we think the best jerseys are. But just to round off what I think some of the worst jerseys ever to grace the ice, the 95-96 Los Angeles Kings, King of Heart, or King, the tiny little King's head.
Burger King guy.
Yeah, the Burger King dude on the jersey.
I agree with that.
Every single jersey the Avalanche has put out, every single Sharks jersey that has been put out, the Yotes jerseys from 03 to now, I think that's stupid. Howling Coyote is really dumb, especially when you go from a jersey like this with the dope ass moon scheme on the side, and then you go to just a plain ass Howling Coyote. I don't think so. And then the exact jerseys that he brought up, the Canucks Orca Whale jerseys.
I mean, there is one thing I gotta say really quick. You said every Avalanche jersey that they wore, correct?
Yes.
I don't agree with you with the early 2000s Avalanche when they became an expansion team in '96. I don't agree with that because I do like that jersey a lot, especially the 2001 version. I really like that one. And you said the Kings jersey, I agree with you on that. And you said the Canucks jerseys, that we can both agree on. And what was the last one again?
The Sharks and the Yotes.
The Yotes. Okay. I agree with you about the modern Arizona Coyotes. I don't mind the logo. I hate the new jerseys. They were okay the first time. They didn't really have to be changed. The 90s ones, when they first came out, they were amazing. No question. It was Jeremy Roy and Keith Chuck, of course. And the Sharks, I don't agree with that either, because the Sharks actually do have some cool jerseys, and I will give them props for that. I do like the black on their alternate jerseys. I do like the logo now. I'm not too crazy about the original logo, although I do like it. It's good, but it's not great. The new one they have is awesome. And, I mean, the RBKH jerseys are a piece of shit. I mean, I'm just going to stay by that. Doesn't matter who you wear. The RBKH jerseys from 2007, 2008 are a piece of shit. We can agree on that. And then next year, they're going to probably do the same thing again in a couple years with Adidas. Hopefully not. You know, I doubt that they're going to do it, but let's hope that they make it the same material. Hopefully, to say the least. I mean, it would be nice if they could just stick with the current, designs. Because, let's be fair, the jerseys in this generation have changed a lot. They have. I mean, there are teams that stick with it. The Devils, the Blackhawks, the Canucks. Those were teams that stuck with their jerseys from 2007, 2008. And a lot of teams don't like it. And I think it's good that they're going to be making those changes. But if the teams like we said, the Vancouver Canucks and the Florida Panthers are going to make those changes, the Toronto Maple Leafs, make the change. If you strongly feel differently about it, then be my guest.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything else you want to add up?
I think that's it. And just next time on the podcast, I guess we'll just keep going into what we think our favorite jerseys are.
I mean, it's good enough for me from there. I mean, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think we covered some good topics tonight. I really hope you all enjoyed the podcast tonight.
And this is #Boomstick, the admin of the Buffalo Sabres.
And #Canes Revolution of the Carolina Hurricanes.
And we are both out. Talk to you later.